Hey guys, wanted to do a video on live betting strategies. These are some strategies that I incorporate into bets I make, and I want you to be able to learn a few things from this video because these are things I practice and things that have made me money long term. And I just want to keep everybody in the lane they're supposed to be in. I think live betting for a lot of people, the train can really go off the tracks pretty quick because in relation to tilt and live betting, those two can kind of go hand in hand very quickly. You can find yourself making a lot of bets you didn't want to make. A lot of chasers live bet. It's not the best way to make money sports betting long term, but yet I do see people who want to do it and who love the idea of any moment in the game I can make a bet on it and love to do it. So I want to give you guys some strategies that work, that will guide you at least somewhat in the right direction. Um, so with that said, I want this video to really be primarily around basketball and tennis, and I'll explain why in a second. But to remove some of the other sports, a sport like NHL, soccer, where a goal in either sport can move a line 200-300 odd. I mean, a 2 to 3 odds, even 2 to 4 odds, whenever there's a goal scored, depending on the favorite of the game, of course. But odds like that move lines that much. Live betting to me, people are silly that do that. It's too much risk in one direction. The swings are way too big for me. Now, baseball, I guess, falls somewhere in between. Um, there's runs scored, but it's not as bad. But again, it's still pretty decently sized swings. I would consider baseball and football fairly similar. A touchdown in football is probably worth a full run in baseball. So those types of things really can swing a line in those directions, which is one of the main reasons why I want to focus this video on basketball and tennis, because there's so much scoring in those sports. Tennis with all the games within the sets, and basketball, obviously trading basket for basket at the college level or NBA, or if you're betting, Asian or European basketball. Um, so again, why bet only basketball? Why would you want to only target basketball and tennis for your live bets? Well, again, primarily because that there's so much scoring back and forth that there's not too much odds changing from minute to minute, right? And that's what you really want, because you don't want to find yourself in a pinch. I mean, think about it. If you're betting soccer, right, and you live other team scores a goal, and now you're like, oh well, now there's a lot of value on the underdog. They were a favorite pregame, right? Now they're down a goal. Now I'm getting dog money on a team that was a favorite coming into the game. Well, what if the other team scores another goal? You're practically drawn dead. Game's over. I mean, your team's going to come back from down 2 goals. Same could be said for hockey. Baseball, I guess, somewhat can be said the same, but again, not as extreme. Football, if a team's down 2 touchdowns, or baseball, if you're down 2 runs, game's far from over. But in soccer, hockey, those are tough to come back from. So basketball and tennis, all that scoring gives you an edge. Gives you an edge in the live betting format. Those are the sports you should really be targeting when you're live betting. Anything else, you're practically begging yourself to be in tilt mode. With basketball, for instance, you might like a home team that's a 10-point favorite, right? Like you might say, okay, I really like this team. The points are a little too much for me. Let me wait in the game and let me see if I can live bet them at like -6 or 7, right? Like maybe the game starts and they're down 8, right? And so now the lines move to shifted a few points. Now instead of laying 10, you only have to lay like 6.5 or 7. Those are the opportunities. Those are the spots you want to look for when you're live betting. You don't want to do that in the reverse, right? Like you don't want to use it for reassurance. Like you don't want to have that. We'll take that same example, right? Where team A is a 10-point favorite and team A starts out on a 10-0 run. Now you have to lay 16 with team A. And you might look at it and go, oh, wow, well, actually now I only have to lay 6 instead of laying 10. Because if I'm taking the score as is, the score as is 10-0, and I have to win by 6. So now I only have to lay 6 instead of 10. It doesn't really work like that. You should always be using the opening line as your premise for where those odds are. Because keep in mind, guys, that's what the odds makers are using as their premise. So you should be using the same premise for your calculations. You shouldn't be using it as, now it's only 6-0, because it's not. Because obviously Team B started out slow. That will correct itself over the course of a game. And with basketball, the game in itself is built with so many runs for both teams that you have to incorporate that into your models. So you have to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck. And in most cases, that's going to be, in the scenario I gave you, would be betting the team that is down 10-0, where now you're getting 16. Because, when the game started, it was only 10, and we're now only 2 minutes in. The other team blasted on a 10-0 run, Now, only 2 minutes into the game, you're able to get 16. Those are the types of opportunities you want to look for. Now, you could also, a lot of people live bet basketball to find middles. You could bet a game at like minus, maybe like a -2 home favorite or -2 road favorite, whatever. And maybe then, you know, the other team, your team goes up like 12. Your team goes up like 12, so then the other team is now like +6. So you have like a middle. So you could even bet it. You could even live bet it at dog odds on the other side, so that you can equivalate both sides of the bet. And then again, you'll have that like 4 to 6 point middle. This is common practice, and it's not a bad idea either. Especially if you're looking for long sustained bets moving forward. But again, to completely avoid chasing live bets. If you find yourself, if you're a standard unit better, whatever your unit is, we'll say $100. If you're a standard $100 better and you're finding yourself betting 300-400 live, having $300-400 worth of live bets on these games because you're chasing what you consider good numbers, you're crazy. Crazy. You're begging yourself to get into tilt. And once you're in tilt, the wheels come off, shit hits the fan, and everything goes awry. You want to make sure that you're avoiding those scenarios, but looking for sharp spots to put your money into live bets. Now, it could be 1 or 2 units. Don't ever have more than 2 units live, whatever you consider 2 units live on a game, because it's one game. I mean, you wouldn't, if you're somebody who wouldn't bet. This is what I love to tell people. If you're somebody who wouldn't normally bet more than 2 units on a game, so let's say 2 units is 20% of your bankroll, you would never bet more than 20% of your bankroll in one game. Well, why are you finding yourself chasing a live bet where now you have like 20, 25, 30% of your bankroll, 3, 4, 5, 6 units on one game where you're rooting for one side? Don't get me wrong. The sweat's great. We all love it. We're all degenerates at heart. But you'll look back, and if that loses, you're going to have a rough night sleeping. You're going to be thinking, what was I doing? What happened? How did the wheels fall off? Well, that's the psychology aspect of it. And the live betting, the sports books know wheels can fall off much more easily live betting than they can if you're betting, pre-game and then locking yourself in that way. So, no, I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but I wanted to make sure that everybody understands the psychology aspect of the live betting and how negatively it can impact you. But again, you're always looking for solid value, and use the opening line as foundation. It seems obvious, but again, if you're looking at a line and there's a few points and a team starts out hot, and now you only have to lay, if you're looking at the game as 10-0 and you only have to lay 16 instead of the original 10 I mentioned before, don't look at it like that. That's the wrong way to look at it. Again, because over the course of the game, in most scenarios, both teams median themselves out. Now, granted, you could take a small sample size and say, oh no, I have this information, but I'm telling you, long term, these lines will median themselves out based on the opening line. So always use that as your basis and find reverse spots where it's favorable. And if you need to, get yourself a middle where you can win no matter what. When I say win no matter what, because if you can properly bet a certain amount with dog money on side B, which would practically be called a hedge on side B, where you maybe there's a way where you can win half a unit either way. Like maybe you bet 1 unit on team A at -2, right? And then at some point in the game, you were able to, money line bet the other team at +2 at, say, an alternate line of +2 at, say, +300, right? So you'd only have to bet a third back of that bet. And then, if you won either bet, you would be in the positive. I mean, in that case, you'd have to probably bet more or less almost like 2/3 of a unit on one side and a full unit on the other. But you guys get what I'm saying, where if the math makes sense, you could pick up half a unit a game and then not even watch the game anymore. Not even have to worry about it. Now, counter argument to that, devil's advocate, you could have a scenario where you're like, I loved this game. Why would I have taken away half a unit from myself? But I get that. But I tell you what, if you loved that game and somehow you backdoor lost that game, wow, you're going to kick yourself. So you got to figure out what kind of bettor you are. Are you a true bettor or are you a true hedger? These people, I find that for most cases, this line is not drawn right down the middle. Some people like to hedge more. Some people like to bet more. If you're a hedger, use live betting to your advantage from a hedge perspective. And if you're a bettor, use live betting to your advantage from a value perspective. So, just a little insight there. And again, NBA, not too many swings from minute to minute. That's why you want to use NBA to live bet, so you're not getting yourself into trouble where you're betting gigantic dogs or gigantic favorites, and you're finding yourself screwed in soccer, baseball, hockey, football. And I'll briefly mention tennis as well. Tennis is interesting because there's so many games within sets. Don't get me wrong. When a player wins a set, the odds will change dramatically for the player to win the game. But games within sets, especially like an opening game where it's 0-0, game can change dramatically. And I say dramatically, not as dramatic as like soccer or hockey, but I mean as far as like the odds can go from minus 150 to like plus 180, plus 170 on a break point. They might not even have the point yet. Just a break point could change the odds to win the match. And look at any women's match or take a large sample size of women's tennis or men's tennis. It's more prevalent on the women's end because there's a lot more breaks in women's tennis. There's not as many power servers on that side, especially nowadays. But we'll take the women's side as an example where there could be in a given set 4, 5, 6 breaks in one set. That's a lot of sets. And what does that mean? That means the computers on the live betting end are going crazy. So you can use that to your advantage to kind of like, just grab, a fourth of a unit here, fourth of a unit here, fourth of a unit here by live betting the money line underdogs as they happen. As these break points happen, you're just live betting the opposite sides. Again, grabbing maybe a quarter of a unit here, a quarter of a unit there, Is it a grind? Yeah. But I mean, look, life's a grind, You could definitely grind your way to that in tennis. The other thing I wanted to mention with tennis is a very emotional game, okay? You'll see this a little more prevalent again on the women's side, but it's a very emotional game. You'll see men get very frustrated very easily. You'll see women get very frustrated very easily. The computers in live betting, they can't calculate human emotion, okay? So you're watching a game and you might see a guy who's minus 150, maybe, but what the computers don't know is that same guy was, the computers will know that this same guy was like minus 800 20 minutes ago, right? So he was minus 800 20 minutes ago. He's up like a set. He's up a set and he's up a break point. So he's minus 800 to win the match. He's cruising along. Now all of a sudden loses a break point and then is in the middle of a set tiebreak, loses that, and now it's going to the third set. Now he was favored pre-match, so now the set is 1-1, and now he's minus 150 to win the match. But because you watched the game, how rattled he got mentally. You knew that there was something was off. Maybe even as crazy as it sounds, maybe he threw his racket, maybe he broke a few rackets. Clearly, mentally, guy wasn't there. So that there's an advantage now betting the underdog in that third set. The computers don't. Computers, again, unless there's some manual adjustments that get made for certain games, which is very rare, so that's not common practice, use that to your advantage. Tennis is a very emotional game. If you're watching it, make sure you're looking out for those things. They happen. And again, with the way tennis can swing on breaks of serve, you want to be using those types of plays to your advantage, especially when you're live betting. And again, if you're a hedger, tennis is definitely the sport you should be betting more of, because you can find plenty of opportunities to hedge. Okay, so wanted to get you some points there on basketball, tennis. The other sports I can cover if you'd like. Just drop a comment below. I'll give you strategies I've used in the past for soccer, hockey, baseball, football. I just find them to be a little too tedious for me. I'd prefer to make more money quicker via NBA and tennis. But they work. They're just, again, too tedious for me. It's only 24 hours in a day. We're only supposed to be awake for 16 of them. But not all of us are. But with that limited, with time being a limitation, you're only going to bet so many things. So for me, it hasn't been a big thing for me. But I give you strategies. If you're a big soccer fan, you're a big hockey fan, looking for ways to make money live betting, just shoot me comments below, and I'll let you know. I'll even do a dedicated video for you if you want to. But I wanted to get you a video on what makes the most sense live betting, and that's definitely NBA and tennis. One other thing I wanted to touch on before I close this video out is when you're live betting. This might seem so obvious, but the truth is not a lot of people realize it. Make sure your TVs, radios, internet streaming service, whatever the fuck you're watching or listening to these games on, is not on a delay. Okay, and how do you realize it's on a delay? Well, look at your live betting app, right? If you're noticing your live betting app is updating updating before you're actually seeing it happen on the television or hear it happen on the radio or watch on the stream service, well, you are dealing with a 5 to 10 second delay, my friend, and that gives a huge advantage to the sports books. So you might be watching a game and you might go, oh, wow, they just made a layup. they just made a layup. I want to now live bet the other team because I want to get an edge in that side. You look at the live betting, you click on it. By the time you click on it, you'll notice that 3 to 5 second pause from the sports book where they're approving your bet. The approval of the bet is just them knowing, because they're on their end, they're up to the second on their updates. They want to make sure on their end that the odds are still fair for you. Okay. Now, if the odds are no longer fair for them, they will reject the bet. So they have an advantage there. The sportsbooks have an advantage there when you yourself are delayed. When you're not delayed, when you are delayed and the advantage goes in their favor, they're going to still take your bet despite your odds now going down. So just something you need to be wary of if you're not already. My recommendation for you guys would be pay your cable bill. Make sure that's no. My recommendation is definitely make sure that your TV service is in fact up to the second, at least as close as it could be. You're not going to be perfect, but make sure it's as close to it as possible. If it's not, then no longer use your TV to live bet from, or wait for TV timeouts to make your live bets. I know it might be tough. You might look at a game and go, "Oh man, I really want to make this bet now." But again, you are doing yourself a disservice. You're practically throwing money away because those extra few seconds mean a lot when you're live betting a game. It's an edge to the sport. It's an edge to the sports books that you're giving them on top of these heavy adjusted juiced lines. So, don't be giving extra advantages when you don't have to be. It's crazy. It's crazy to do that. So wait for TV timeouts to bet it, or just use the sportsbook app itself to do the live betting. Because the sportsbook app will update in real time. Instead of watching the game, use the sportsbook app in real time to make your live bets, and then watch the game afterwards. But I can't stress that enough. If you are live betting often and frequently, make sure the platform you are watching the games on is up to date, because you are just giving the sportsbook extra incentive to want you to keep making live bets. Because over time, there will be at least 2 to 3 bets where you make, and as you're making them, as that little approval window's going through, it's going to tell you, oh yeah, it's approved, and then you'll notice the odds drop dramatically down, a second or two afterwards, and you're like, well, what the fuck? Well, again, you weren't up to date. They were. They noticed that they're going to still take the bet because it's advantageous for them. Okay, so I want to wrap this video up. Again, went through some live betting strategies for you for NBA, some things to look for, some things to want to do, things you want to hedge when you have the opportunity to. Same thing with tennis. I didn't go into detail in the other sports because, again, that wasn't something I've done in the past, but a little too tedious for me. But to reiterate, if it's something you guys enjoy doing, just drop a comment below. I will give you guys a video in that regard for each sport. I can give you a live betting video for each sport if you'd like, separately, where, strategies for this, strategies for that. And again, I want to do more videos like this because, look, it's one thing for me to give you guys picks. I can give you guys picks all year. But I want you all to become better sports bettors. So I want to have this video on the live betting strategies. I want to have a video on parlays, on practically never doing them. Video might be 10 seconds long. Begins and it's just like parlays. Don't do them. Scratch them off the list. Video ends. But no, there's going to be various videos that I want to do for you guys in all the aspects of sports betting. When to hedge, proper bankroll management, how to avoid tilt, the true psychology aspect of sports betting. When is it favorable to bet dogs in certain scenarios? Based on what the public is saying. What is sharp versus square money? When to know when true sharp money is moving the line? When to know the public is fully on one side? These are all types of topics I can bring up and do for videos for you guys. But again, I need to know. I want to know what's on your mind. I know bankroll management's a big one. I can definitely do a video on bankroll management. To me, that's one of the most important qualities of a good sports handicapper and sports bettor. But again, let me know. Drop comments below on topics you want to know more about from a sports betting perspective. I'll be happy to help you guys out there. Okay, thanks for watching the video. Subscribe if you want to. I know that I've been giving you a lot of picks recently. This is more of a little change of pace. Wanted to give you guys an informative video on a different realm of the sports betting aspect. If you enjoyed it, like it. Comment below with your thoughts. And hey, look, thanks again. I gave out a free pick for you guys for tomorrow as well. So take a look at that video. And thanks again for watching. And chat soon.